Alrighty, maybe I should get some light on in here. Can't even see myself. Zach's got it. Zach's got it. Hero Zach. So welcome to the Rogue Refiner. My first week of doing this. Hopefully we can get some good games established. Before people actually show up here, I'm just going to sell off my YouTube collection. Or continue selling off my YouTube collection. And we will get that underway. Reason why I'm selling off most of my cards is multiple reasons. A, the uncertainty of Arena is a huge reason why. And B, the economy of the MTGO ticket or MTGO treasures is also something that looks to be very up in the air. I don't know how it's going to affect Modern long term. I'm not as concerned with Standard, but Modern is definitely a format on MTGO that if they keep pumping the random, like one of the slots in the treasure is going to be dedicated towards a random modern card, and I just feel that the more and more that gets oversaturated, the harder and harder it is going to be for the MTGO economy to keep up. So I think that like we had this oversaturation of packs that happened, so that's why they changed to treasures. But eventually, I think we're going to go to the oversaturation of just cards on MTGO. To be honest, the data isn't supporting my theory at the moment. It seems to be pretty healthy, and people like MTG Lee have said that the treasures, they're going to proactively try to stop this from happening, but I don't know if I can trust them to do so. So there's a multitude of reasons why I'm selling at MTGO. I don't want to say that it's all the community thing, or just that's a huge portion of it too, like a little bit of a, decks out for Rombly here. It's definitely something that the more and more this community debacle keeps happening, the less and less I want to support Wizards. Yes, that has a little bit to do with it. The main thing, though, in all just pure transparency, pure honesty, is Arena is the big question. There are a lot of us finance people here on MTGO that have been chatting back and forth, and we are very, very scared for the overall economy of MTGO. So that is why I'm getting out of MTGO. But I'm still going to play it. So I don't want my Twitter to cause any sort of panic. Like, yes, would I say to being investigated by Wizards? Yeah, I don't know if to the point of panic mode. They have they have called us, our store. They have talked to my business partner and asked some questions. So that's as far as it's gone for that. And I think that Wizards is trying to distance himself from all this stuff right now. So I don't think I'm in any jeopardy. That's not one of the reasons why I'm necessarily selling at MTGO. It has more to do with the economy than anything. So anyway, let's pull up my MTGO before other people can get here. Let me pull up my twatter too and see if people are twatting at me. And use the hashtag if you have a deck list you want me to look at. So the whole function of this video series is to take user requests. That by far the most emailed question I get is, hey, can you look at my deck list, maybe play it, maybe give me some tips about how to play it or what cards to put in. And it just takes way too long for me to go piece by piece by piece into deck lists. So from now on, I am going to make a folder in my email, and same thing like anything I got Facebook message, and just for the entire week, we'll collaborate them all into one video series. I'm wanting to do it on Tuesday. I think that works better because we can go Market Monday on Monday, and then Tuesday we can do this sort of thing, and then maybe call it Tuesday Brews Day. I don't know. I kind of like the Rogue Refiner as the name for this series, and get it all over with in that week, and then we can do it all the next week, and so forth, so forth. So that way I can interact with the fans and get some pretty neat little ideas for upcoming decks. So how do I search for hashtags on Twitter? Right now, you can, of course, if you tweet it at me, Twitter's just easy for me to pull up deck lists. So what I mean by tweet at me is just put a link to the deck list on Twitter if you want to have me go over deck list. So for now, though, let's see what my collection is worth. See if I can find some. I'm just always trying to find cards to get rid of. So I hate this full trade binder because it just throws everything up. So let's see if I can identify some cards. I've been doing this slowly because I don't want to look up individual card prices. Where the hell did the trade thing go? And we will go. I can look at EDH decks too, by the way. Absolutely. Anything goes here. We don't have to play them. Okay, so I can't sell the Rest in Peace or the Gideons because they go into deck art. So Remand. How much do Remands go for? Remands go for... Can't sell the Searches either. I need those. I can sell Aether for your Harvesters for sure. I want to keep Standard at the moment. So Blackcleave Cliffs. I can sell some Gideons. Remands go for 311 at the moment, huh? All right, so I'm just writing down some of these cards, and I'm going to get rid of them. Torrential Gearhook I don't need. Carnage Tyrant I've been messing around with. So still a lot of value in cards here. All right, that gives me an idea. So if you are interested in buying tickets too, if you can just beat card like the MTGO traders, I think if you can not like 0.95, 0.96, 0.97, those are the type of values that I've been hearing that I can get for my tickets. And if you want to beat that or beat 0.93 for sure, let's make a deal because I absolutely need to solve some of these tickets. I have way too many of them. So where did my chat bar go? So I can actually respond back to, let me pop this out. There we go. Alrighty, so again, anyone want to start off with a deck list that they want to work out? Of course, I give priorities to the Super Chat or the Streamlabs donations. Man, I still need to promote Streamlabs over Super Chat. Super Chat takes a huge cut, by the way. All of you that donate to the Super Chat, just keep in mind whenever you donate a Super Chat towards like a YouTube person, like a streamer, that they take like a third, YouTube does, of that Super Chat, which is absolutely ridiculous. Streamlabs doesn't take a fee whatsoever, so keep that in mind. I think I should probably pimp the Streamlabs in the future, but that will require me to actually set that nonsense up, and I just kind of decided just to get on and stream without setting crap up. So all right, so everyone enjoying Standard? It's a wonderful format to be playing right now. If you haven't played it, you will play Energy. I guess we'll do that while we're waiting for people to submit some stuff, and we will look at my last league. So go over here. This is the last league that I played in. Shows you the last matchups. And so all of these are pretty much Energy, and this is the Esper approach. And so you can see that the Rogue decks are still very viable in the format at the moment, as the Champion Wits deck is still quite potent against Energy decks. And it was funny because all four of the Energy decks I played had a slightly different flavor to them. This is a Planeswalker deck that I'm playing against here. So that's the biggest concerning thing about Standard right now, is I absolutely don't think that this is a format where a particular strategy is like Caw-Blade was or Delver was. It was just unbeatable. I think that's the point that Caw-Blade got to, is it was just, you couldn't build a deck that could really beat it. Energy is nowhere near that. However, the data, Energy is being played as much as Caw-Blade, which just shows that people are boring. That's all it shows. The spikes are very, very boring. So let me know if you've got a link there. Just at me here on the live chat, and then we can look at the Twitter, and I can pull up the deck list and whatnot. Standard is fun, but it's just too time consuming to keep up with. I get that. Unfortunately, we don't have another healthy format at the moment. I cannot stand Modern. Absolutely cannot stand it. So as soon as they want to actually police their own format and we can get it back to playing interactive decks, then I'll go back to playing Standard. However, I thought the Grand Prix was pretty much indicative of a bad format when you see Scape Ship, Tron. Those are also, they're slightly better to play against, I would say, than the all-in combo decks, but inevitable decks are just as boring. Well, they're just as bad, in my opinion, as all-in combo decks. What I mean by inevitable decks, Tron and Scapeshift are your the two biggest examples of the inevitability. If you give them 5 turns, they're going to win. Whereas, you know, interactive decks, I would even consider like the old school Splinter Twin, Jund, Jeskai Control, you know, Soul Sisters can go in there, Skred can go in there. Even the old school ways they used to build Pod, I would still say were quite interactive. So those type of decks, it was a lot more fun to play the format when that was the format, rather than now with Storm, Ad Nauseam, Tron, Scapeshift. Eggs is still a thing. All those sort of stuff is just too boring. Like, people keep talking about how the format is very diverse, yet there's only really like 1 or 2 different type of archetypes you can actually play. You can play an all-in combo, or you can play attrition, or heavy control. That's it. So, or tempo control is how it is. So, yep. So anyway, I like Standard just because I think that it's still wide open. However, it's just everyone is so boring. They're playing energy. And I wish that Wizards would... Seth did write a pretty good article on the state of Standard. So you can see, like, that was a crazy game right there. We both flooded out, or started with I got starved, and then I started flooding out, and then the Marinette Master can take over the game. But Standard, I've had a lot of success with a variety of decks in Standard. Nothing quite to this Marinette Master deck. As this deck just has an insane win percentage right now. I think the last 20 games I've played in, I've gone 18-2 with it. So it's stupid good. That's 3-5-0 finishes and then a 3-2 finish. All right, at me if you got a list. Let's get this going, peeps. Should Wizard increase or decrease the power of the sets to fix the problem of banning this year? Well, they just need to balance stuff, Chad. They just need to have more interaction. It's fine. It's funny because Mark Rosewater used to say, when people were complaining about energy right off the very first of when the energy format started to dominate in Standard, Mark was like, no, I like how energy is. I don't want it to be able to be interacted with. And then, you know, now that we're 6 months, a year and a half later, Mark Rosewater's like, oh yeah, we should have seen it. We should have seen that coming. It was our bad, our mistake. We should have had energy interacted with. And it's like, oh god, the guy is just a basket case when you like. I think he almost used like self-deprecation as a way, as an excuse. Like, a lot of times, like, he'll dig his heels in and then until the entire community's after him, and then he'll completely go with the community on attacking himself, which I think doesn't solve anything. I think he just needs to take criticisms better and actually like talk it out during the problem, not after the problem. Like that, just be more transparent then. He's done that a lot of times in the past with various things. I remember back in the day too, he defended Infect to the death, and everyone was like, man, it's made such a miserable Mirrodin Besieged. Did anyone actually draft during Mirrodin Besieged? It was the most awful draft format I think I've ever played in. I don't know if Dragon's Maze is worse or Mirrodin Besieged. I think those are the two, when we're looking at lows of lows, those are the two most boring draft formats that I've ever had the misfortune of ever playing in. And Mirrodin Besieged is right when I got back into Magic. So I guess I can read some questions until someone wants to actually submit a deck list. You can have at least the background of watching these gameplays go on. So let's see if I can find a fun one. And one of these was extremely fun. Was this the Nail Breaker? Maybe this, or the Nail Biter? Or is it one? Rise, if you say free 2 on my stream, you'll get banned. Just kidding, dude. Just kidding. You can say free 2 all you want. All right, so top Modern decks can be hated out pretty... Okay, Ross, that's my problem with Modern. Should I show you my last Modern League where I went 3-2, or 4-1, or 3-2 with Soul Sisters, and every game came down if I landed a Stony Silence or a Rest in Peace? It's ridiculous. I don't want to play Magic where one hate card wins the game. That just is the most pathetic, boring thing that I don't want to... I'd rather play Pokemon at that point. I'm sick and tired of a hate card being the difference between winning and losing a game over and over and over and over. So yeah, it's pathetic in my opinion. I do not have any desire to play a format that gets decided by just a one card thing. So yeah. All right, what's some other questions here? You have a cube list posted somewhere. Cube for what? The only cube that we play, we have one of our players that comes in. He has a pretty good cube. So as a store, I haven't built a cube. As his is really, really well done. I like his archetypes he's put in it. I'm not the biggest cuber, but I will play it if someone has a decent cube. Waffle House, thanks for joining the Rogue Refiner. You can watch my pathetic stream. One of these days I'll get good at it. I'm a person that is very susceptible to stimulation. And so with everything, like so many different, I have 3 screens here moving around, I get distracted so easily. I wish I could just focus on one thing at this point. Nope, this was a boring game. But it's energy versus, or the Marionette Master combo versus energy is quite favorable at this point, I would say. How do you fix blue in Modern? Is blue still represented okay? I mean, Death Shadow, that's a huge portion of the meta, and they do use blue as a pivotal point for at least, some of it. Snapcaster Mage, I guess. It's just right now there's too many. So say against Burn, I'd even say against like Eldrazi Tron and a bunch of other ones, you can't rely on mana leaks. You can't rely on cryptic commands like you used to because the threats come out too early. And blue just unfortunately needs to be paired with another color like black that can stop the early game. So it's just they pushed a lot of these combo decks are just too good at this point. So if any control deck stumbles, they'll just lose. So even if you have like a favorable matchup versus like Scapeshift, for example, blue should have a very good job against Scapeshift. What about those draws where they just kind of stumble? They can't counter. It's over at that point. And is UR Gifts is still legal? I think there was one in the top 16. There wasn't any in the top 8. I guess we could pull that up. We can kind of see the metagame for Modern. Since everyone wants to talk about, why do you guys want to talk about a format I have no interest in? Jeez, you guys are making my life hell. Whoops, that's Movers and Shakers. This is a Market Monday. So let's go over to the Modern. So right now it still says that Affinity, Grixis, Death Shadow, Eldrazi Tron, Jeskai Control, UR Storm are the top 5. And MTGO UR Storm definitely is the most played. You'll see one almost every day make this 5-0 list. But if you look at the Grand Prix Oklahoma City, we have Scapeshift, Dredge, Tron, Jeskai Breach. So what's Jeskai Breach? This is another. Okay. Jeskai Breach is trying to kind of play the old Splinter Twin role. So they're running the old Control Shell for Splinter Twin, and then instead of Splinter Twin, they're trying to just through the Breach out in Emrakul. All right, yep. So then we have Tron again, and then Living End, which is an all-in deck, gets hated out by a Rest in Peace. Tron, Elves, Lantern Control, ugh, miserable. Tron, Eldrazi Tron, Gift Storm was 14th. Okay, so it didn't do the greatest, so my prediction was way off. Other than that, I think the pros will be more on the Gift Storm, as they're better at sequencing things and just finding the outs for Storm. And Storm is one of those decks that the more you actually play it, you can find a lot of just if you're good with sequencing, or you're good with just calculating odds, you can go off a lot more. You can go off sooner if you can figure out that it is most likely that you're going to hit what you need to hit. So it's a very consistent deck. So I think that we'll see a lot more Storm at the Pro Tour, especially with this list. Though it looks like the decks to beat is going to be Tron, and Tron's going to be really hated out at the Pro Tour. And therefore, it's going to allow Tron and Titan Shift, I bet, will be hated out. And it's going to allow decks like Storm to be the combo deck that doesn't get hated out. And when Storm isn't hated out, that deck just runs rampant. We'll see if there is enough people that actually do run like Rest in Peace or other Graveyard Hate or Spell Hate to actually combat it. But yeah, it's something that it's one of those decks that has to have a lot of hate packed in the sideboard. Did Affinity not do very well? We have a 22nd Affinity. Yeah, it just looks like Tron. If we look over here, the most played, it's all Death Shadow cards and Tron. So Serum Vision, Snapcaster, Lightning Bolt, that's Death Shadow type decks. And then we have, then the Tron cards, Ancient Stirrings, Expedition Math, Patho, Erupt, Progenitus, Karn Liberated. Karn Liberated in the top 10 shows you just how many Tron decks were run. So anyway, we will get back off of this. And yeah, so let me check my Twitter, see if I've got any. No, still nothing. You guys are boring. No one has a list. So I can show you some things that I am working on at the moment. Again, some of these Rogue Refiners, of course, will be more prepared in the future, as they'll have a lot of deck lists build up over the week for people to want me to look at. Let me pull chat back up. I need a 4th window screen for everything I need to do. All right, so I think you created the Marionette Master deck that is banning my existence. Is it this one, Waffle House? Yeah, this is kind of my baby. I've been working on it pre-rotation. There were some people that were messing around. The thing is, I took 2 archetypes and combined them. There was a deck that was running the Marionette Master Metalwork Colossus deck, but it was in a Grixis Improvise shell. So it wasn't in a Gate to the Afterlife God Pharaoh's Gift shell. It was trying to improvise control, like Grixis improvise control, like the Herald of Anguish type stuff, and eventually find a Metalwork Colossus in the graveyard, hardcast a Marionette Master, and have enough artifacts out on the battlefield. So it put Marionette on 4 and then kill other artifacts. Whereas God Pharaoh's Gift just puts Marionette on 4 by itself and gives you the 3. So I thought it was a lot more reasonable shell to put it in. And so I mixed the 2 archetypes, and this is how I came up with it. So yes, you are tormenting Rogue talking about Modern. I'll still talk about it because, again, if you like to play Modern, the more power to you. See, we had some people at our local game store kind of swore off my store because they got mad at me because I quit playing Modern with them. And I'm a very opinionated person, so I can't help myself but insult people when they do stuff. And so, man, I think my Modern players got sick of it. And so they you know, well, actually, they had a freak out about Fatal Push. The whole story behind that, I was actually on vacation when this all happened. The Fatal Push, we kind of, yes, tapped out's fine, Pappy. We got bumped down from advanced to core status during the Fatal Push promo because we only had a 30-man tournament, not a 32-man tournament in the rolling year. And one of the reasons why we only had a 32-man tournament is Wizards of the Coast screwed 3 pre-releases in a row. So one of them, we didn't even get our pre-release. It didn't come till a week later because of snow in California. It had nothing to do with even snow in Utah. It was snow in California. And then, or wherever they were shipping it from. And then it killed our allotment for the next one. And it was just so we had to basically, we had 4 or 5 different pre-releases we needed to host. And so we had to like cap them. We had to cap one at 8, we had to cap one at 12, we had to cap one at 24, and the other one at 24 because we only got a certain allotment of pre-release packs. And so then that did the exact same thing for the next one. They're like, oh, well, you didn't do a big tournament, so we're only going to send you this amount. And so same thing, we had to like spread them out over the, you know, cap them at 24, cap them at 24, cap them. And it just was ridiculous because the pre-release is the only thing that our store, we actually don't even really have room for 30 people, for 32 people. So it's only pre-releases where we can expand the store a little bit to get those. And so we only had a 30-man tournament. And so Wizards bumped us down from advanced to core. And so our Modern players freaked out because they were convinced we were stealing the promos. And it was just stupid. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I don't know the drama that happened. But then they between that and kind of my attitude towards Modern, they decided they're going to quit playing here. So I think they play at someone's house now, which, whatever. More power to them if they want to do that. I didn't, but I know they were upset at me because I wouldn't play. I just refused to play Modern. The story behind that is 2 of the players love to play Ad Nauseam, and I didn't want to play against that. I hate that deck. I absolutely hate Ad Nauseam. I think it's just exploiting rules that shouldn't exist in Magic, in my opinion. They should be errated by this point. But anyway, so they know that I can't stand Ad Nauseam. So I'm like, hey, if you guys play Ad Nauseam again, I'm just going to bow out. Because I don't feel like playing every Modern FNM we sit down. I have to play against this. It's just pointless. I don't like to play die rolls. I don't like to play solitaire. So, you know, if you guys, just giving you a fair warning, if you want your, you know, a lot of times we needed me for like the 8th person too, because their group has about 5 or 6 people that come in. And so literally the next week I sat down and both of them had the biggest smug looks on their face and they were both playing Ad Nauseam. So I looked at them, I said, yep, picked up my cards, went in the back and I played MTGO, went on and played MTGO and said, yep, I just won't play then. If that's the case, you guys have your tournament. I'm not going to, you know, it is my store. I'm not going to say no one can play a certain way, but as a player, I can be a baby and I can bow out. And I have every right to be a little baby, and I did. So I came back here and said, oh, let's play some MTGO while you guys play Modern. And so I think they're pissed off at that. But, I mean, it's to each his own. I can't stand Modern. So, or decks like Ad Nauseam for that. Where was I with all this crap? All right, so we have, there we go. All right, sweet. I am pulling up our first deck list we can look at, and we can actually, now that we're like into this. Okay, I'm having a... Oh, here we go. It's pulling up. So, Saskia. We have a Saskia deck. So, Saskia, this is EDH. Man. Let me download this real quick, and we'll pull it up on MTGO. So, let me... let's see here. So let's go to decks and add a deck and find out where it's saved to. Where in the world? It's not even finding this deck that it... Is that not a... Let's see if this will open it. Okay, there we go. It's trying to open as a vintage. That's why it's... And it's missing a card from Saskia. So, Commander is something that I don't even know if I'm the best person to be giving advice for Commander. It depends on what your goals are to be the most competitive. I like to play Commander as this big smorgasbord for synergy. I just love to do kind of crazy synergies and try to find each deck. Each time I play Commander, it's almost like I'm trying to find a new way with my deck to kind of showcase its synergies. That's why I absolutely love my favorite Commanders. Just for, I think that these are... Noth is probably my absolute favorite Commander to play with. Noth the Guiltleaf, just because there's so many synergies with this card. I'm a huge fan of Teysa, Orzhov Scion. Again, it just screams synergy. This card just is whenever a black creature you control dies, put a 1/1 white spirit creature token. And then you sacrifice 3 white creatures, exile target creature. So there's a lot of synergies that happen with Teysa, Orzhov Scion. And then there's tons of what's the queen, the Golgari queen, whatever her name is, Savra. Savra's another one. This just screams with synergy. Whenever you sacrifice a green creature, you gain 2 life. Whenever you sacrifice a black creature, you can pay 2 life to have each other player sacrifice creature. These are the type of commanders that I absolutely love. Let's see where Saskia. Saskia. Is there not even one that's on? All right, so here's Saskia. Vigilance Haste is Saskia enters the battlefield whenever a creature control deals combat damage to a player. It deals that much damage to the chosen player. So the strengths of Saskia is definitely going to be in what we kind of call Voltron, but you're going to go wide Voltron. So yes, cards like Zergu are nice, and then things that do give double strike to other creatures, I guess would be pretty cool. So first off, run the combo. You got to run the combo if you're running good old Samut in here. Run the Miriarch. Also, how about Odric? I think running Odric and the Miriarch in here can allow you to give all your creatures double strike and, you know, swing in for easily lethal on one turn, possibly killing 2 players with like kind of a 1 hit. Also, I think that you could probably put in the Nahab and the Dragon combo and put something like Aggravated Assault in here. Would be something that to get an extra attack phase. Maybe a deck like this would want one. There's always that sort of line that you could take with Saskia. But the thing with Saskia, what I don't like about these 4-color commanders is these 4-color commanders, they kind of suffer from too many options syndrome. I don't like them. It gives you, there's too many colors to work with, and inevitably it's a nightmare for me to try to build a deck when there's this amount of cards. But all in all, I don't see anything in your deck list, just glancing over it, that is just strikingly out of place. Sunforger might be if you don't have enough ways to really utilize Sunforger, and right now I'm not even really seeing many at all. So a red instant spell with converted mana costs 4 or less. So what we have at the 4-drop, you're not really utilizing anything here at the 4-drop for 4 and less. And same thing with the 3-drop. I just think I'm missing everything. So I think that there's just better equipment if you want to give something +4/+0. This is where you'd want one of those cards that can just give double strike, or one of those cards that could just give like what's the one that gives lifelink and +3/+0. I think that's better than just the plus there. I mean, I don't think there's anything in the 2 besides like the artifact mutation and the R mutation that you're going to get any sort of value off of it. So it depends on how much you actually value those. I mean, the swords can work off of it. So this is a type of card where I think you have to have a lot more just bang for your buck for Sunforger. But everything else looks pretty common for the staples here. The Buried Alive. What's your combo with Buried Alive here? Maybe I should pull up chat so I can actually see what's going on. Did I just close chat? Ugh. There we go. And Shaman. Is Shaman really doing much for you either here? This one seems... Oh, 2-color of any combination. Okay, yeah. That's the one that does do any combination, not one of every color. How would a Bloom Tender in here? I think a Bloom Tender would be very good for your 2-drop because it's a way for you to add a lot of mana when Saskia is out. Okay, there's a Naya Charm and a Doom. Oh, yes, there's a Crackling Doom and a Naya Charm. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, I guess you could get some value out of Sunforger there. Usually Saskia, I like to go as insanely heavy on creatures as possible. So you're going to want to run the other creatures that buff other creatures. Therefore, you're getting kind of a 2-for-1. You're getting a card that can actually attack in while simultaneously buffing another creature. So that's just that would be my route to go. Again, everything else though in here looks very, very staple for the Commander format. Do you need cards like Shieldred at this point too? I think this is the type of card that you want to be curving out before Saskia. So I would say anything above 5-drop, you're really going to have to justify wanting it in there. So that's where like Zendikar Resurgent, this might just not be the deck for a Zendikar Resurgent. At that point, you've already put out your hand. Or even like Gisela, it might just be a little too taxing on the deck to do so. And Decimator Provinces might be as well. So... The Saskia decks that I played against that have been very proficient have been putting out those kind of flooding the board early with creatures that have a lot of just bang for their buck and basically killing 2 people quickly, leaving the weakest opponent left if it's in a 4-player pod to do so. So I don't know if that helps you at all with this particular deck. There's not anything, I can't test this out, of course. I think that now I'm selling my MTGO collection too. It's gonna be hard for me to test decks out. That's gonna be a bit of an issue. It's just I'm sorry everyone, I can't keep this amount of value on MTGO if I expect that prices are just gonna continue to decrease and decrease and decrease. I think they need a lot of new blood in MTGO, and it's just I think a lot of people are actually holding off even joining MTGO, especially the closer and closer we get to Arena, because they don't want to be stuck carrying the bill for a software that could be obsolete. So it's just all those signs just make me, as an investor, just want to get out of the software at the moment. So I do want to play a lot of these decks because I think that's where I can help the most is by actually play testing these. And then the best way to actually refine a deck is to play it. I get that question asked like crazy. How do you become a better brewer? Well, repetition, repetition, repetition. That's how you become better at anything. And you need to be brutally honest with yourself. You need to know what is working for you. Commander, this is a really good idea as well. So you need to know what is working for you and what is not working for you. Say, for example, if this Buried Alive, getting the Filth and the Anger isn't really winning you a lot of games, and just having a 3-drop at that point, like a really good Soulbound Double Strike, like your Silverblade, there it is, yep, Silverblade Paladin just might be the better card here that's winning way more games. Then it makes you reevaluate if you want to have a card that can actually, go get this sort of things. Plus, like Buried Alive, does it have any more synergy beyond just the Filth and Anger? And I'm assuming there's a 3rd target to get with the Buried Alive here to put in the graveyard. I'm just missing over at the moment. I guess, yeah, anything Reanimate here. I guess something you could get back with like Eternal Witness would be something. But yeah, I think I might be just overlooking what it is. Urborg. Does Buried Alive doesn't Urborg search the library up to 3 creature cards. So you can get Filth, Anger, and I'm sure there's another one. Yeah, putting in like a good Unearth card might be a good to get more value out of your Buried Alive. It's just little things like that. You start just repetition. You have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is there something better in this place? You probably should, with the amount of equipments you're running, a Stoneforge Mystic would be pretty good to put in the deck for sure. You can go get the Skull Clamp, the Jit, the Lightning Greaves, those type of cards. In all honesty, you can go get a, what's the one from Ravnica? I don't think you should undervalue that in a Saskia deck. the one that gives +1/+0 for each colors of the card, gives Saskia +4/+0 right there. And it's very little equip cost. Might not be powerful enough though. But yeah, but I mean, take that to heart though with every deck you build. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Don't get caught up in pet cards. That's something I can say from a more experienced brewer, is there will be so many times I'll get so caught up in a pet card that I won't get rid of it. And I'll keep it in because it's just a pet. It's a pet. A lot of decks actually start with a pet card, and then you start to find other synergies that work independently of the pet card, and then you're like, wow, I'm actually onto something. And then you just have to bite the bullet, drop the pet card, and move forward. So that's the advice I would give with brewing. That's the number one thing to do. Alrighty. All right, so I'll try to keep up on some comments real quickly, and I'll keep looking at my Twitter notifications and pull up some deck lists. So let's get through some of the questions. You want to see a Constrictor style deck with Driven to Despair? I'll have to show you that one. Mr. Magic Man, I do have one that I built with the servo, like producing a lot of servos. We'll have to look at that. That is something that I think has some merit to it. All right. So Zoros, I don't think that they've already said they're not going to transfer collections because a lot of cards aren't going to be eligible. They're going to slowly work backwards, is what I've heard with Arena. So for me, I don't see a point to Arena. I've been watching Arena. It still seems very sluggish and slow. You cannot make Magic into Hearthstone. Hearthstone is everything is sorcery speed. Everything is basically your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. There's not a lot of interacting with your opponent on that level. So it can be played at a very fast pace. There isn't the greatest amount of decisions to be made. That's why I think Kibler and Sifka are doing very well in the Hearthstone scene, is because both of those were known for their ability to really refine decks. And like Kibler was a deck builder more than he is a player, in my opinion. He's very good at. He was the guy that was known for playing creatures when the formats were non-creature based formats. And same thing with Sifka. Sifka just had a very good ability to refine the decks down to the perfect numbers. So for Hearthstone, that is incredibly advantageous to those two players. Whereas in Arena, though, you can't take away. So I mean, and they can play fast on their streams, get a lot of games in, and it just makes for a very smooth experience for the viewers. I don't think Magic is going to be able to replicate that. Magic is something where there's a ton of decisions. In fact, it's just decision ridden with all the more, and a lot of times it's not between a bad decision and a good decision. It's between a good decision and a better decision. And that's what makes a lot of the players like the Owen Turtenwalls and Eric Frolics and those type really good at Magic, is they're good at identifying the specific plays that are going to work out in their favor. I would say that PVDDR is one of the very best at this, just being super efficient with better plays versus good plays. And what that tends to do is it tends to make Magic incredibly sluggish and slow, and it awards the person that is willing to take the patience and think it out. And that's why I won't ever be a great streamer or a great player, is because my mind doesn't work that way. In personality theory, it's called extroverted thinking. It's I want to make decisions quick, and I just want to know the gist of something and make a calculated guess on the information I have at hand. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty. That's more of an introverted thinking thing. It's where you can dissect all of the ideas into the nitty gritty and then make it an informed decision based upon that. So it's Arena, though, is going to be, if they keep trying to put all these booms and busts and little nifty graphics, it doesn't really add to anything that MTGO doesn't have, and it's not going to be able to be played at the pace that Wizards wants it to be played, to be a streamer type format. So anyway, that's my little spiel. How to get this is side. I should just call this rogue sidetracking, rogue rambles again. So let's get on to some other lists. I've got like 7 Twitter notifications. Oh man, never mind. It's all still about no. Here we go. We have another one by Adam. I'm going to pull up Adam's tapped out list here, and we'll bring it up. And this is another, man, you guys are commandering it up today, huh? So this one is a, where is your commander? The commander is the Ur-Dragon. So the Ur-Dragon is a pretty interesting commander, as it allows you to ramp out dragons very, very quickly. I think that the Ur-Dragon is going to get a lot more powerful with the more undercosted dragons and changelings that might be printed in the future. Unfortunately for dragons, a lot of them are very high cost, and it is also something that, like, the taking off one colorless mana doesn't really put a dent in. Where you, I mean, that's the easy part with ramp is reducing the colorless mana, because you can think if you can do that with like Thrawn Dynamos and Soul Rings and things like that. So the people that have been playing Ur-Dragon, that's what I've still found is the problem, is that colored mana slot. And of course, the Ur-Dragon is really good when, you know, one or more dragons you control attacks, draw that many cards, and then put a permanent from your hand on the battlefield. So that's where it gets its the thing about Ur-Dragon, though, it's one of those cards that wants to be cheated out rather than be stuck in a command zone. So that's my beef with the Ur-Dragon. And it's just too tribal for me too. Like, I'm not a big fan of tribal in Commander. I like synergies rather than tribes. Do I even have a tribal deck at the moment? I don't. I killed the zombie deck, and yeah, I do not have a tribal deck. You know, the closest thing I have to a tribal deck is Noth, which is tribal elves, but it's not really, the only reason why it's tribal elves is that Noth spits out so many elf tokens that you might as well put some ways to actually synergize the elf tokens. So, but I think that there's a lot of ways just to synergize tokens in general in the deck that I wouldn't even consider basically a tribal deck. But yeah, we can, let's see, how do I do this? Download. Okay, so, god damn it, I haven't used tapped out. Export download into a MTGO deck. All right. How did I just do that? Do it. Close. Okay, there it is. Hit it right there. Let's find this one for you, and we'll pull it up. And it is not finding it. 1 second where I find the Draconian. There it is. Okay. It's also pulling it up on Vintage. Gotta love this, because it's not finding the Ur-Dragon. Do those exist yet? Have they put the Ur-Dragon yet in the tickets? Okay, they have. Okay, so the Ur-Dragon here. This is probably another one where I'm going to say Bloom Tender is, if you want to spend some money, is going to be one of your cards that I think is going to be your best ramp card. So first of all, this card is Bloom. Should be on every commander's list of cards you want to be picking up, because it is just a powerhouse. I have it in Animar. I have it in a few. I even play it in 2 color decks. This is just one of the best ramp cards, biggest bang for its buck right now in the format. So for each color among permanents you control, add 1 mana of that color to your mana pool. So it looks like you already have like cards like Temur Ascendancy that are going to get out early. And maybe this card, it'll at least add for a green. That's what I like about the Bloom Tender, is it at least adds for a green. So it's just, it's there with other ramp type spells. And so you could maybe think about running that instead of something like Fellow or Stone, because it's got a bigger upside, especially if you have a card like Dragon Tempest out. Now it's adding green and red. You can add a little bit of those. If you put like a Heuristic Studies in here, now it's adding like green, red, and blue, for example, at that point. There's the Blind Obedience you could run in here, things like that, and it can get a lot more bang for its buck. And as soon as you do get some of these tricolored creatures out, it's really going to start adding a lot of mana. So that is the first thing that when I see these 5-color decks, Bloom Tender should always be in those 5-color decks. I still like running a lot of these other mana dorks to get you there. for ramping into the higher cost dragons, because I still think it's the biggest bang for your buck rather than going for artifacts. And I'd even say at this point in Commander, artifacts are just as much of the liability as creatures, because people are running a lot of things like Vandal Blasts, or should be, and they're just about as vulnerable. And I think even creatures are sometimes a lot easier to protect from, because people need to be more picky with their removal spells than they are with a lot of times with the artifacts. So first of all, with the Ur-Dragon, you're going to want as many ways to give cards haste. So you are running like Karthus, that's good. Dragonlord Kolaghan's in here as well. Yep, there's another one that's definitely a staple in here. And there is, it seems like you've got most of the decks. I mean, the thing about the Ur-Dragon is you can run any sort of finishers. You might be a little bit heavy on the finishers. I know that you need to run a lot of, I typically don't play Commander the same way a lot of people do with a big top end. I like more of a more streamlined curve, and your curve's not bad. The 4-drop's a little bit low. 3-drop does have enough cards. Elemental Bond, I'm not sure you get enough value out of Elemental Bond. There's probably something that you do a better draw besides Elemental Bond, like the Rishkar's Expertise. Is Rishkar's Expertise in here? Or the, what's the other one that adds the, I guess Shaman is per card. But those type of, Rishkar's Expertise would probably be better than Elemental Bond in my opinion. Elemental Bond is something I have an Animar, or did I cut it out of Animar? I can't remember if I did or not, as there's just better ways to get that card advantage. But, you know, Cultivate, Kodama's Reach is good. Mortify, Putrefy, those are typical EDH cards. Cyclonic Rift goes in every deck, of course, because it's busted, needs to be banned. And they got the Tempest. That's a good sign. But here's where you probably should want to be investing like a Mana Vault or a Mana Crypt in this sort of deck, because it can ramp you into some pretty silly draws. Of course, you can afford them. I know I'm talking about like Bloom Tender and that sort of stuff, and that gets quite pricey. There's a card out of Innistrad, one of the 3-mana Druids. It adds 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool. That's also another one that's really, really potent, because you can get it out on turn 3 and then ramp into a 7-drop the next turn with the amount of lands you have. I think that's pretty pivotal for decks like this to work. Do you have City of Brass in here? Do you have the Mana Confluence? But yeah, City of Brass would be probably a pretty good card just to throw in rather than one of these dual lands. Of course, you're going to be running one of the fetch lands and one of the dual lands there, but is there any other dual lands that are, like Prairie Streams? This is sort of the deck, though, I think you can afford lands coming into play tapped, so maybe that's not that bad of an idea either. So the basic lands you do need in here, right, if you're running stuff like Kodama's Reach and Cultivate and Farseek. Otherwise, you run out of basic land targets. So all in all, I don't know. Again, your deck looks solid. There's nothing. I mean, these sort of decks build themselves, because you're going to be running the most powerful dragons on each of those slots, and I don't see anything that's out of place here. The problem is you're going to be the typical deck that gets clumped up when people do have like the locks going in Commander, like the Grave Packs and Dictate of Ereboses and those sort of things, as you might need to be running a little more ways to interact with those at the low end. So you do have the Mortify and the Putrefy, but a card like Vindicate would be very useful to get yourself out of those sticky situations, or other ways just to destroy a lot of the enchantments. So, everyone, purple's here. It's purple. Now it's time to leave, shut down the stream. I don't know where my Clorax is. Here's my Clorax for you. We'll set this right on my, I don't know if you can even see this on the chair here. My Clorax, we'll sit on the mic for you. Gotta wash the hands. Ugh. Anywho, let's go back to the Twatter, see what I can find on Twatter, and we'll pull up some other lists. All right, so we have Mark is the next one up. We'll pull up Mark's list here. Oh jeez, you guys in your Commander decks, you Commander players. We have a Prossh now. Okay, Prossh is a Commander that I do have experience playing, because Prossh is busted beyond busted. And the first thing, let's pull up your Prossh. Now I'm getting better at downloading this into MTGO deck. Close. Did it do it? There it is. Okay, so Prossh. All right, so let's close out on this. And we're going to go ahead and open up your Prossh. That's funny. It saves as Magic Online, but it doesn't find it as Magic Online decks. Gotta love MTGO. And this... Okay, so Prossh is the other card in here. So first of all, let's see if you're running the busted of all busted cards. And right off the bat, you're not. You do look like you don't have much of a budget here, though, because I see Demonic Tutor and a Diabolic Intent. So it is a cardinal sin in Prossh to not be running this cancer of a cancer card. I just said cancer. I'm going to get banned from... there we go. That's the... Earthcraft. Tap an untap creature you control, untap target basic land. This little combo goes insane with Prossh. It just basically allows all of your tokens to come in and then untap. So when you pair something like Earthcraft, and I assume Ashnod's Altar's in here, yeah. So Ashnod's Altar, Phyrexian Altar, when you pair it with Earthcraft, or even if you just have one of any of those, it makes Prossh go crazy. So that's always the first thing I recommend when people run the Prossh. But it seems like you have the basically the staple cards for Prossh: the Deathbringer Thoctor, the Purphoros, the Impact Tremors, and the Goblin Bombardment. All those type of the Phyrexian Altar and the Ashnod's Altar. Yep, those are going to be your typical Prossh. You definitely want to go as fast out on the ramp for the your next upgrades would be the Mana Crypt and the Mana Vault for the Soul Ring. Thran Dynamo is that one that I do think is... Yeah, I think Thran Dynamo should be going in here too, because just the way it curves with Prossh. And it gives you that little bit of mana left over after you cast Prossh to get going. I'm trying to think of other cards. Grave Pact is another good card to be putting... Yep, Dictate of Erebos and Grave Pact should probably go in here for the control route. I'm not sure you quite need a Damnation, because you can rely on like Dictate and other ways to tutor up those sort of enchantments. So I think that's white that has those sort of... Birthing Pods, of course, is good. This is another one I do like Bloom Tender in the mix, because it allows you to really go crazy with the ramp. So this is a card I typically don't like in Commander with Champion of Lampholt. I don't like damage in Commander. It's something that, yes, Champion can get out of control and win the game. I see it, but 9 times out of 10 when you have Champion out, you probably have the win regardless of Champion, if that makes sense. So I would rather find a better slot for something like this, but of course, this is a card if you're having success with, keep it in for sure. The Beastmaster Ascension is not bad either too, because when you get those Cobalt tokens out, you attack with the Cobalt tokens, you can win the game there. Do you have a Goblin Sharpshooter? Goblin Sharpshooter usually is a pretty much a staple in this in Prossh as well. So doesn't untap during your own tap whenever a creature dies, untap it. Goblin Sharpshooter does 1 damage to creature player. You can see how this can go infinite with a lot of the Prossh, because you can sacrifice a creature, untap it, and then you just go through the, like, if you don't have a Purphoros or an Impact Tremors out, then the Goblin Sharpshooter is another one that can go infinite with it. And then also the Blood Artist and the... Okay, Blood Artist, yes, you have it. The Zulaport Cutthroat combo, yeah. There's also a 4-drop one. Do you have the 4-drop? It's a vampire out of Innistrad. Was reprinted in Iconic Masters, I believe? Or was it Eternal Masters? What one is that? The 4-mana Blood Artist can go in this slot. I believe there is another card in the Rakdos colors that does a similar thing. I'll have to rack my brain for the Prossh, but pretty much it seems like, again, you've got all your bases covered here with Commander. Commander's one of those things that they're, of course, you can refine it down to the must cards in the deck, but all in all, if it's powerful enough to actually impact the board, it's good enough to be in a deck. And so there's a lot of cards I can't like tell you to take out of this deck. Going over your list, though, again, I've said I'm not the biggest fan of cards like the Champion of Lampholt. Yeah, everything else looks fine here. So here's another card I want banned out of Commander, Chaos Warp. The card is just too silly. It's just too powerful for what it does. But it is a necessary evil. It's one of Red's only ways to get rid of some shenanigans. Alrighty. Yeah, you got the Skull Clamp in here too. That's a must for the deck. See if we can get through these here. Okay, here we go. We have a non-commander deck, finally. We have a I'm not. I mean, commander decks are fine. One of these days, I'll revive the commander format for my channel. I need to get some commander deck techs going with all the. I have 10 commander decks that I want to showcase, and I think you've only seen 2 of them. We've seen Balthor, and you've seen King Makar, and so I need to get going on some other ones. All right, so Modern Punishment. This is by D Manny of the Amino Apps. I still need to download that damn thing. I just don't use my. There's no point to my cell phone at this, like browsing on my cell phone. Okay, so this is going to be a ramp deck that is going to lock out with Magus the Moon. Can be one way of locking out non-basic lands. And so, okay, so it's just a tax deck based upon, I see what you're doing here, with the Eidolon of Great Revel and the Burning Tree Shaman. The biggest issue I'm going to see with this, D Manny, right off the bat, is a lot of the games, though, you're not going to be the aggro deck. So these cards might actually punish you as much as they punish your opponent. Of course, the Harsh Mentor only affects opponents. But the Eidolon could hit you pretty hard. A lot of those cards are in the 3-drop range. And the Magus of the Moon type cards might not be impactful enough as a creature. It's the thing that makes Blood Moon so good, and Magus a lot of times not playable in Modern, is the fact that it can be easily dealt with a Fatal Push, with a Path to Exile, those type of cards. Even a Lightning Bolt can kill the Magus, where Blood Moon's a little bit tougher. And a lot of decks don't bring in the sideboard hate or don't bring in the enchantment hate till the sideboard, and so you get that free win off the first one. So I think Magus the Moon might just be better as a Blood Moon in this deck. I don't think there's any reasoning that I can see here besides the Aether Vial that can flash into Magus the Moon, but I don't even know how great that combo is. Aether Vial is okay with these creature-based decks. In like a lot of times I like Aether Vial. I'm surprised that no one's tried a Modern deck with Aether Vial where you run the boom bust type cards. There is a card out of one of the Mirrodins, I believe, that each player sacks a permanent. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then there's also boom bust where each player sacks a land. And so you can do a lot of these lockouts and then still be able to cast stuff with like Aether Vial. And that seems like a pretty cool way to do so. Oh, same thing like Birds of Paradise. You can get those going. The Primeval Titan does have the Kessig Wolf Run and like a Raging Ravine to find alternate win condition. Rurik Thar is this. See, this is a deck that I think would be playable later on if the combo decks aren't like overrepresented like they are now. That's the problem with Modern in a nutshell. Is I don't think that sort of Burning Tree Shaman and sort of Eidolon and sort of Harsh Mentor can shut down a few of the combos, but I don't think this is even enough hate to do so. So, throw on the Scab Clan Berserker. It's definitely a cool idea, though, with trying to build a taxes deck in the form of damage. The problem, though, is where Death and Taxes is really, really potent in Modern is it's actually stopping your opponents from actually casting cards. When people can still use life as a resource, they're still going to be able to do their game plan, and if it's not enough to actually kill off your opponent, taxing them with damage is just a minor inconvenience towards them. And I think that to even get out the Rurik Thar or the Primeval Titan, you're going to want, I guess there's only 2 of each of them, but you'd probably want a little more control to get you there. And I think that 4 Lightning Bolts and 4 Beasts Withins, especially when Beasts Within can turn the tides and actually start attacking you in this deck. The Burning Tree Shaman does outclass it, but the rest of these cards do not. It's going to be a little bit of a liability. Usually Beasts Withins are utilized with also land destruction type cards or Living End that's going to actually kill the token later on. A lot of other decks don't pick it up for the reason being that the vast majority of you use it a Death Shadows deck, all of a sudden they have a thing that can attack into you, and then it's just a lot of people will trade that land or trade whatever it is for a 3/3 green beast token, no problem. So the mana base 22 lands too with only 4 Birds of Paradise might be a little bit of a problem to try to get up to these higher curves. I mean, again, you are only running 2 6-drops, but that seems to be a little bit low on the land count. And yeah, I think that's going to be when you play this deck, that's what's going to happen too often, is that these hate cards just will not be impactful enough, and you're going to get run over by whatever your opponent's trying to do instead, if that makes sense. So this is another one you just have to play and play and play and play and figure out what's working for you, what's not working for you, and adjust accordingly. And what you do have going for you right now is the 4 Eidolons, 4 Harsh Mentors, and 3 Burning Tree Shamans. Could be enough to be that aggressive play to it. But so instead of this later game play, maybe add some more extremely aggressive cards, cut the Magus of the Moon, cut the Eternal Witness, throw in something like a Swift Spear or Goblin Guide, or at that point you could put like an Acatl in that place, and that will effectively just start taxing your opponent's life total early, making this later life total tax be a lot harder for them to deal with. So that's where I would start. I'm not sure you need the Aether Vials. Aether Vials I like in decks that have card draw. I'm not the biggest fan or cards that lock out the lands. I'm not the biggest fan of using Aether Vials just to like sneak up an extra turn, like get out 2 creatures on 1 turn where you couldn't, because it does cost you that resource of 1 card to do so. So it's Merfolk, it works really, really well. Slivers, it works really, really well. Beyond that, I've tried it in a lot of other tribal decks, like Shamans, like Goblins. I've had a Aether Vial in before. I tried it in Knights, and then I always, 9 times out of 10, would rather have a creature in this slot than just 1 turn cheating out a creature, like a 2-drop on turn 3, for example. It just didn't seem worth it to me. So, food for thought there. Sideboard looks fine. Your sideboard seems pretty much staple for the sideboard. Rex Sages, Obstinate Balos, Kitchen Phoenix, Fulminator Mage, Anger. You know, the Shusher's kind of good against control decks. Spellskite is kind of being outclassed right now. There's usually no point to Spellskite. This is crazy. If you guys seen the price of Spellskite, this card has just completely been destroyed. Look at that. Boom. It's a $10 card again. That was back when Born of the Gods was out, how low this card was. That is insane how the modern meta just shifted so much. I don't want to get into too much of a Market Monday rant again, but we are starting to see a lot of cards. This is a bad sign, folks. This is a very, very bad sign. This is usually the card I like to show for the overall health of a game. This card should be consistently going up, and there hasn't been any sort of price change since a year ago with Doubling Season. It's actually shifted downwards. Another one that is always nice to look at is cards like Sidisi as a card. Is a good indicator of the health of the market, and you can kind of see a bit of a trend too. This was healthy time in Magic, it's doing this. Unhealthy time in Magic, it's flatlining out. So this is, you can even go and Spellskite was the example that brought this up. Fetch lands. Look at this. I don't want to be that guy, but I think I'm going to be that guy. It's all about that fetch, huh, Rudy? All about that fetch. Fetch lands have pretty much stagnated now and have gone actually down in value for the past year. But anyway, we'll get away from that nonsense. I'm not going to be doom and gloom this time. We are going to be positive. All right, so let me catch up in some... Caden, you really say hi on the chat, and you're literally in my store. Oh, people. All right, I'm reading some chats. Let me get caught back up here. What do you think of that Why We Play video? What's this Why We Play? Okay, so so Earthcraft equals Cancer. Yes, we do. Okay, we'll catch up on some chat here. Doing something busting EG or keeping friends is always a tough choice. Ah, man, who cares about friends? I'm already banned from 2 commander groups. I'm going to try to make it more. Blood Artist, some beautiful artwork on it. Yep, that's what I do like the Blood Artist art as well. Yep, Falconrath Noble. I'm way far behind. All right, Tasty, we'll look at your dumb video here. I don't think I have the audio turned on here. Why We Play. Did this just came out? I have not seen this. We can do a reaction video. So let me turn on the... Do you know I have these headphones on and I unplugged them when I was fiddling around, so I don't even have sound on at the moment for my end. So what a great streamer I am. Let me figure out the desktop audio. Hopefully this isn't too loud for everyone. And let's get this going. See if you can hear this or not.
My name is Becky.
Hej, jag heter Erik.
Justin.
Sam. Kenji.
Andrew.
Alan. John Finkel.
Sunny.
Ryan. Michael.
Yvonne.
Ariana.
Sam. Paula Vita. Tarkon.
I'm Nikki, and the one thing I love about Magic is that you can play it anytime, anywhere, and with people of any level.
One thing I love about Magic is drafting.
The infinite multiverse that it gives us a chance to explore.
Casting a burn spell for lethal, and then getting countered, most likely.
Getting kids into Magic.
Playing an instant during your opponent's combat phase.
Developed into a truly multi-generational game.
Eine Sache, die ich an Magic liebe, the artworks.
How innovative you have to be in order to play the game.
Go anywhere and you don't even need to speak the same language. You already speak Magic.
It's the closest I'll ever get to gladiatorial combat.
Och få ihop ett riktigt skönt linjärt deck i slutet. Helst i Grixis.
I love the way the cards smell.
How I interact with people.
Getting together with friends.
Comes a form of self-expression.
Out leveraging my opponent.
When you see somebody get it, when it clicks.
Being a cosplayer as well as a player.
Oh God.
So many different people who get so many different things out of the game.
When it's awesome, it's just the best thing ever.
是他让我交到了来自世界各地的朋友。
The flavor text.
When you're not being flooded or screwed, this game is actually really awesome.
Color pie philosophy.
We come from such different backgrounds, such different cultures, we have such different ages.
That it's competitive.
You draw your first 7 and it's all gas.
Always so welcoming.
Where I made almost all of my friends.
One of the most passionate and tight-knit communities I have ever encountered.
You're filled with some of the most intelligent, thoughtful people.
We all come together to the same table.
Bring people together.
Brings people together.
Brings people together.
Brings people together.
People together.
People.
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 People. People.
People.
People.
People. People.
People.
People.
People.
People.
People.
The people.
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 Hey, I'm Ben. The one thing I love about Magic is all of you guys. That and the new Scry rule, but mainly the people. Keep drawing 7.
So we basically have a whitewashed version of the... Did everyone hear that okay? Did it actually... It actually did play through. Hopefully, I'm going to turn the desktop audio down just in case someone subscribes and doesn't blast your ears away. I can't get that Streamlabs volume I need to mess with. It's way too high. Not as cringy as the last one, Tasty. That's pretty cringy though, just because who is the creator of this? Who's Find Your Battlefield? Anyone want to give any sort of context to this? I don't know. So all in all, there's a lot of people, of course, I recognize in there. There's a lot of these kind of drama stirrers in there that I don't think should be the best to be talking about, inclusiveness and making people feel welcome when it's just their side they want to feel welcome. Geez, Tasty, how'd you get me started on this crap? On something's about Rogue Refiner. This is man, risky click, Tasty. Of course, he didn't see anyone from the I hate to say alternative because that has been so co-opted by other nonsense causes and stuff, but it's basically the whitewash, the really safe personalities that we saw in there. I think I did see Tarkon on there, who's the owner of Quiet Speculation. So I guess I shouldn't be too critical of this of this video. But yeah, it's I think they're really trying to grasp at things now. Trying to de-escalate the situation that's going on, when I don't think it's possible at this point to de-escalate the community. And people should just sit back, let it play out, and maybe do a video like this in 6 months. Otherwise, it just looks too planned for me. Whew! Wow. Okay. Thanks, Tasty, for derailing my entire... Aren't you supposed to moderate this stuff? Isn't it your own comment you're supposed to be deleting and saying, Kevin, get back on point, not getting me into this crap storm of the MTG drama? One of these days we can actually have a stream without getting into it. All right, so let's go back to some of the questions here, and then we'll get back. I think I've got some other deck lists to look at. Okay. That's kind of sad though. They didn't ask me to do a video what I like about Magic. I like the people. How about that? I like all of the people on the stream. That's why I do it. It's for the people. It's because all the people feel welcome. The people. And it's the people. Yeah, the people. That's definitely it. Okay. All right. Cringe aside. All right. Where were we? We're going to ban Tasty from the... How do I right click and ban Tasty from the stream? Right click. No, it doesn't do anything. Oh, there it is. Right click, remove as moderator. Put user in timeout. I put Tasty on timeout. Tasty was timed out for 300 seconds. All right. And Purple is now the moderator. Okay, so no, the cringier one was the one they did on Twitch. At least that one is semi well edited. Whereas the one they did for what they do it at the Pro Tour or Worlds or whatever they did it, and it was so cringy. The cringe was really strong. With timeout leads to participation trophies. Does it? Cool. Oh. Okay, I'm going to go back to Twitter now that we've been successfully derailed. All right, so next one up, we have a Wildfire Lore. Let's pick up Morgan's deck here. Close this cancer, which we call YouTube. And we will pull up this looks like another modern deck. We have let's see if I can figure out what it's trying to do. So it's going to be a Generator Servant, Alicia Who Smiles at Death, Champion of Wits, Living Lore. Okay, Living Lore enters the battlefield, exile an instant or sorcery. Let's just pull this up. This does look interesting enough. So this is right up my alley. So here we are going to have like a synergy deck that's going to try to find as much synergy as possible. I think I vaguely remember what Living Lore does, but let's go ahead and pull it up. And import. And I'll find it here for you. What was it named? Give me a second. Where did it say that? It's not even finding it whatsoever. I might need to pull this back up again and resave it. Okay, never mind. Here it is. I found it. It was just, I was looking for a Living Lore, and I think we found what it is. So, okay, so first off, kudos to you. If you want to get a combo established, this is a good way to do it, is the Thoughtseize and Fatal Push Collective Brutality type combo. So you proactively rip out your opponent's answers. It makes it a lot easier for oh geez, I forgot. I'm going to put this about right here because it shows me exactly where my screen ends. I think I've been showing cards to you guys that don't show up on the screen. So let's see. So it goes to right there on the screen. So it's going to be utilizing high converted mana cost for the Living Lore. As Living Lore enters battle, exile an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. Its power and toughness equals the converted mana cost, and when it deals combat damage, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. So you're going to want to be utilizing the most high impactful spells. Cruel Ultimatum, Time Stretch. Yeah, those are probably pretty good. Pretty good high impact cards. Take an extra turn. I'm not sure if 2 extra turns, of course, is really, really potent, but that's 2 draws. Sometimes it's going to be, unfortunately, it's going to be like 2 Explorers that don't do a lot for you, though. So I'm wondering if we can find a better card for Time Stretch here. If Time Stretch does, yeah, okay, so help me think of some spells that will just win the game by themselves. Because Time Stretch is going to be a liability sometimes. I'm telling you, sometimes this is going to be the card that you get 2 extra turns and you can't really do anything with those 2 extra turns. But I guess you're assuming the Living Lore can then attack in twice and just win the game. So I'm actually okay with that. Cruel Ultimatum, though, is good, though, because it's very, very tough for a deck to come back from a Cruel Ultimatum. And it is, what is that, a 7-mana spell? So target opponent sacrifices a creature, discards 2 cards, lose 5 life. You return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, draw 3 cards, and then gain 5 life. Yeah, that's probably high impact enough. But there could be a few cards. So you exile the spell. Whenever it damages, you may sacrifice. If you do, you may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. So you cast it, goes back into it. Living Lore. Oh, you have to exile Living Lore, right? You don't get it. Sacrifice it. No. Okay. So I wonder if there's a way you could actually get Living Lore back, and then with a card, cast a card back that gives you an attack phase as well. Because that could go like a chain of events. So Yeah, okay, Alicia getting back lore. Okay, thanks, Morgan. Yeah, now we see that because Alicia can get living lore back because it's a star because it will have no converted. It'll be a 0/0 in your graveyard because it doesn't. The stars aren't reading anything. So Alicia then can get back living lore. Generator Servant can also go for the living lore or the Wildfire Eternal, and allow you to have it haste and attack in. Wildfire Eternal is a card that I have kind of a hate-hate relationship with because these are the type of cards that give your opponent the choice of blocking. I think they're always going to block and just take 4, and it's a 1/4, so that's not going to be for 4 mana. But I guess we're assuming that your opponent's not going to be able to block here. So you might need to be running something that can clear the board or get the Wildfire Eternal through. Alicia does also have synergy with Wildfire Eternal being a 1/4. Yeah, this definitely does have some merit to it. In all honesty, your 24 lands might be a little bit too heavy. And since you are an all-in deck, what I would suggest is playing the card I want banned in Modern. This card, the Simian Spirit Guide here, in replace of a few lands. So we throw in like a couple of Simian Spirit Guides, maybe a full package of Simian Spirit Guide, and then cut down the lands. Because I think that you don't need to be this high. Like, Urborg Chimiagmos is a definite no-no in this deck, just because it doesn't synergize with anything except for the Thoughtseiz's first turn. So I don't think any of your cards really care about having, multiple black mana except for the off chance you have to cast a Cruel Ultimatum. But I don't know if that you're ever really going to be necessarily casting the Cruel Ultimatums. You might, with Collective Brutality throwing away, I guess you're always going to be throwing away living lores. Collective Brutality might just be worse than running something like Inquisition of Kozilek, and then Collective Brutalities can be the sideboard versus particular decks. So that'd be my first. You're heavy on the basics too. I think with the 3-color deck, you're gonna have to go all out on as many fetch lands and just lands that can have more bang for your buck than basics here. So you have 1 island, two mountains. Is there any point? I think you'd rather want 2 islands then, and we can definitely go up on the swamp or Steam Vents, Watery Grave. 2 Steam Vents, 2 Watery Graves. We have 1 Blood Crypt. Yeah, I guess that's fine. So I would run the Fastland. What's the Blackleaf Cliffs? That's the one I think that would work out better. Cliffs would probably work better than some of these basics because you do want the red to generate the Alicia. Bolt could go in here too instead of something like Collective Brutality. I think we do need a little more on the control side or the Simian Spirit Guides just to ramp in to getting those cards out. Maybe Simian Spirit Guides isn't actually necessary when I look at this too because it's turn 2 you get Alicia, but it still doesn't have attack in. So possibly just something that could give. I mean, you could run Speedy. You could run good old Speedy Gonzalez in here. The Bloodlust Insider. That actually seems like a pretty decent card to be running in here. So yeah, well, Brutality if you want to be throwing away spells. So Urborg for Alicia. Yeah, I think you're underestimating the power of Modern to fix. I don't think that I still don't think you need the Urborgs in this deck. And if you are going to run the Urborgs, I'd only run 1. There's no way I'd run 2. I just think your land count's a little bit high for a deck that is curving out at 4 because these cards are rarely going to be cast. And I do understand that you can go, yeah, because Alicia, giving haste with Alicia actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense either because you're still going to have the 2, you're still going to have the 2 black mana too. So for that case though, you definitely would want the Simian Spirit Guides because you could generate a servant into Alicia and then by using the Simian Spirit Guide type stuff to go for those combos. There's absolutely some merit to this deck though. It's going to be more of one of those wonky decks to play. But it's going to be fun when it actually does work, for sure. So this would be the big wild card. There could be better spells here that could get the job done better. There's got to be some game-winning sorceries that just say win the game when you cast them, rather than trying to rely on time stretch to give you those 2 extra turns. So that would be your homework was just to go over here and just click sorcery, and then modern, and then go by mana cost, and then just try to find any card that can be exploited. Like, the higher the mana cost, of course, the better. And I think that's where you're getting the time stretch. And maybe there actually isn't much in Modern. I don't think you'd want Enter the Infinite, for example, or Temporal Trespass, because the time stretch is just better. Decree of Annihilation, no, because it affects you. Dead Drop, no. Curse of the Cabal, target player sacrifice half the permanents he usually controls. Probably doesn't finish it off. Search target player's library for an artifact creature. Put it. Nope, that doesn't work either. Sway the Stars does. Yeah, that doesn't work either. So maybe you did find the best bang for your buck, and that's just what we're working with at the moment. Not a lot of good sorcery speeds in Modern. But yeah, there's got to be something that just does a crap ton of damage, or... Yeah, worse fears would just be worse than a time stretch. I agree there. Huh. Maybe you did identify the best two that have the most bang for their buck. I'll have to get back to you on that if there are better cards than Time Stretch and Cruel Ultimatum. That's kind of sad, though. You'd think there'd be some sorcery spells at the high. I mean, there's creatures, definitely creatures. You can think like Emrakul, Ulamog, those type of cards that when you cheat them out, they absolutely are going to just win the game by themselves. But sorceries, not so much. Not so much. But yeah, one of these times, again, though, Modern, I don't know if I'll be able to play it. I just sold out all the fetch lands. I don't want to buy them back. But this would be an interesting little deck to kind of to mess around with and see how it plays out. Again, I think there's going to be a whole of... It's really going to be the... I don't know if Champion of Wits necessarily cares to be in this one. It's one of these standard all-stars that just doesn't translate into Modern as well as other slots in this. There are already a bunch of cards that do very similar things. If you're just looking to fix, possibly a Faithless Looting type card just might be better to do so. However, yeah, so yeah, I understand Alicia can get back the champion. There's got to be a better slot for there. So definitely let me know how this deck goes, though. I'm definitely interested in keeping up with your progress for this. If I ever do get back in Modern, this is something that... See, this is a sort of combo deck that is silly enough that I would like to play. And combo deck should be with those type of high... more inconsistent, easier to shut down. Of course, this one is. Any even sort of... Graveyard base hate definitely is going to shut this card down. Maybe you should think about something in that line to prevent that from happening. I don't know if there's anything in these color combinations, though, that can really protect your graveyard. Anyway, yeah, cool deck. Kudos to Morgan, though. This one is super, super spicy. Super spicy. This is something you'd probably get Seth to play on good old Goldfish. Again, I'm taking the break from Modern, so I'd hate to reinvest in all of these cards that I just sold. So I'm not going to queue it up. So there will be some standard decks. If you guys submit standard decks, we can definitely try it out. Okay. Let's see here. We have another one. Okay, so we already got one from Adam. Oh geez. We're going to pick up another one from Travis here. You submit a deck here. I guess you just submit a deck to @RogueDeckBuild with the hashtag. It's easier for me to find it when it says Rogue Refiner in the hashtag. And that's how I can just search the hashtag and find it up. So, all right, we have another one here, a Black-White Crypt-with-Right deck. Crypt-with-Right just recently rotated. So we have the Voldaren Pariah, the Grave Titan. Inquisition's Fatal Blood, Path to Exile, Secure the Waste. Landing, Thoughtseize, Throne, Collective Brutality, Crypt with Right, Tangible Virtue, Lingering Soul, Stram's Expertise, and Elspeth. Kind of a cool little token-based strategy. Where you need to be is, I think that I'm not sure that you have enough of the control route. Okay, so 4 Thoughtseize, 2 Path, 2 Fatal Push in here. Yeah, I guess that's a good start for sure. The land base seems to be on par. The go wide strategies I think are going to be a lot better at the moment in Modern because they do. This is kind of an interesting little take on tokens. The thing is, though, I don't know if there is really a reason to be running Crypt with Right in what you're doing. I mean, what are you ramping into besides Elspeth, which I think you can just naturally get there, or into Grave Titan or Voldown Prize, something you could easily... Yeah, I think that Crypt with Right is just unfortunately out of place here. And then this just ends up being a very, very similar to a black-white tokens list, where Sorin is extremely good in the black-white tokens. Even Gideon is insanely good in the black-white tokens. So I think that just dropping the Crypt with Rights, of course, would be a better way to go with that. Crypt with Rights is one of those things with, like, a SRAM's expertise, where I found it was very good with Westville Abbey, and you are going that route with the Westville Abbey. So I guess that's what the Crypt with Right is there for. But you sometimes want to find another outlet for the ramp spells. So once you do have a crypto, you need to get some sort of use, some sort of justification to get it there. But a deck like this, I even think that just stalling the game out with enough chump blockers is fine until you get the Westville Abbey going. So I definitely do like your take on the black-white tokens. Legion's Landing has worked out insanely well in the token decks that I've ran so far. And everything seems to be... yeah, you do definitely have the control elements with the Thoughtseize, Inquisitions, etc. here. All right, let's see. This is the last one from Travis. I got another one from Adam. Is Snacky still? I don't know what happened to Snackies. Did we kill him? I didn't want to kill him. I just wanted to time him out for derailing my poor stream. Alrighty, so this one, let's see if I can figure out the theme to the over-the-top deck, huh? So you're back to the good old... See, this is where I think we can get rid of some of the combo decks. A lot of these mid-range decks will actually start to see play in Modern again. Unfortunately, Travis, I think that you're just in kind of a bad situation with all the combo decks being you have 27 creatures. Whenever I see a deck with 27 creatures, I'm just going to tell you you're going to get run over by combo. Because there isn't going to be enough ways that you can push through it or interact with it. However, if you're going to be playing against Attrition, these sort of decks do shine. You've got a lot of the cards that have high impact, like the Voice Resurgent, Scavenging Ooze. This almost looks like an old school pod deck. We're just getting value out of all the cards that are coming down. Huntmaster, Courser, Tyler's Tracker, all of those are going to continue to get value. So you're putting a threat and a threat and a threat and a threat against answers. In honesty, this is where I like Magic the most, is when mid-range is successful. Who was the one that just wrote an article about that? Where Magic is the most fun when mid-range is the top deck? Who was that? What was it? It was one of the pros that just came out with that not too long ago. So this is exactly where I'd like to be playing with in Modern. Of course, there are some ways that you can make this more degenerate with, like, Nahiri, just chucking in like a few things that Nahiri can go crazy with. There's Inferno Titan in here, so Nahiri can go get like an Inferno Titan, the Primal Command. Are you getting enough? So this is just trying to ramp with Lotus Cobra and secure Tri-Builder back to the end game here with the Stormbit Dragon. And so I do definitely like the list. Unfortunately, I'm just going to be frank with you right now. I don't think a deck like this is playable currently in Modern. You have to have ways to close out those games incredibly quick, or you have to disrupt your opponent. And I don't think that there is really any... And then your sideboard is just going to be too hard. Like, you got the Stony Silences, but not the Rest in Pieces, so the graveyard-based decks are just going to run you over. And then you have a lot of ways to actually interact with, like, Affinity and some of those. But one of Path to Exile, you got the 3 in the main. sometimes that ends up not being even enough ways to interact with your opponent. And it's just this is the problem. We only have 15 sideboard slots to try to weed out all of just the garbage that exists in Modern at the moment. But yeah, kind of a little cool take on like the old school pod type decks. So Inferno Titan has been always a fun card. I've been loving to play this actually in Scred, and then Sun Titan is another card. A lot of these have a lot of let me tell you a story one time about Modern. I queued up with a standard deck on accident in Modern, and I think I was going up against Merfolk. And I think this was back during Theros? No, it had to be before Theros. I think it was Innistrad Return to Ravnica days. I accidentally queued up with a standard deck that had like Abrupt Decays in it, and it had whatever the Doomblades, Abrupt Decays, Garruk, the Flip Garruk, just a lot of mid-range value creatures. So we're talking like Thragtusks, and it just absolutely destroyed. I think I actually queued up in a queue, and it destroyed Jund. It destroyed Merfolk. It destroyed like all of these what we call fair decks. It just completely destroyed them because I was doing a better job playing the mid-range route than they were. But then I started facing off against the combo decks, and I had no chance in hell against beating them. And it's kind of funny that it's funny that these mid-range decks can be very successful against the decks that are currently there to beat out the combo decks, like the Death Shadow type decks or the Jund or Abzan, because your mid-range is actually more solid of a plan than their mid-range. So I'd like to get back to Modern where the mid-range is actually a viable thing. And unfortunately right now I don't think it is. I think you have to be playing a black, if you're playing any sort of thing that has a mid-range game, you have to be playing Thoughtseize and Inquisition at the moment. So, anywho. Yeah, we killed the snacks. Holy cow, now I got a ton of requests. Let's see what we can do with let's look at the Slingshot deck. This one actually looks pretty interesting. Now watch one of these being embedded with some sort of virus that takes over my MTGO account and you steal all my tickets. You people. Okay, so this one is called Slingshot. It is a standard deck. Hey, we might be able to play this one. So this is going to be a Cruel Reality deck. What does this even do? At the beginning of the enchanted player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker if they can't lose 5 life. Oh, so this is an enchantment that acts as the win condition. So you're going to want to try everything you can to get to that win condition. Also runs Gonti's Machinations to get there. And then Magma Sprays and Flings. What's the fling is just in here for? Like a Noxious Gearhulk? So, first of all, I'm going to be pretty critical of here. If you're going to be running something like Fling, I think you need more targets that are impactful than just 5 damage. I think it's a lot easier to use 2 cards as 5 damage here than... Isn't there just a spell at this point for like 6 mana you can do for 5 damage to the face, for example? And maybe if you're running cards like Cathartic Reunion, you could run something to utilize the graveyard. Otherwise, it just... I think the deck kind of like Magma Spray could be shock at this point if you have ways to do damage. Like, you're obviously doing damage. So I think Shock or Lightning Strike could just be a better card here. The Travel Ambition, you might be able to get away with playing... These bring back cartouches, so you could run the cartouche for additional damage there. Vraska's Attempt, of course, is a great control card. Art of Devastation is actually insanely good at the moment against Temur. It's actually pretty decent versus Ramanoop, too. Ramanoop Red. And what does this Perilous Predicament do? Each opponent sacrifices an artifact creature and a non-artifact creature. Instant speed, yeah, more control to eventually get over the Cruel Reality. However, I think you want some consistency. You're going to want some card draw. It'd be something like establishing a Chandra. Or if you are running like Cathartic Reunion, You could run some more creatures that have value in it, maybe the 2/3 lifelinker, Death Touch lifelink, and then you can get those back with something like a Liliana that can give you some steady value per turn. Because the problem with decks like this is what you're going to run into is you're kind of going to flame out of removal spells per threats, especially if you're going up against Teamer. Like the Rogue Refiner draws a card. The Whirl of Rocher can create multiple targets. The Long Tusk Cub must be answered. And if you keep trying to go answer for like threat for answer, threat for answer, threat for answer, the Teamer energies and the Ramen Up Red decks are going to outvalue you eventually. And that's been my experience with Standard at the moment, and that's why those two decks are very, very popular. And it's even tough for decks like the Black-Blue Control to establish enough card draw when they have some pretty good cards at the moment with the Glimmers and the Ops, the Glimmers, what are some of the Hieroglyphics, those type of cards to keep with the card value, the Torrential Gearhulks. Those have been completely obsolete right now in Standard. And so you can just see that it's even more tough to try a deck with even less card draw to do so. So Chandra's would be a must in something like this, or some other way to get that incremental value per turn. And eventually when you do stick the Cruel Reality against something like even Ramen Up, against something like Teamer, it's just not going to be enough. So a Fling, though, Fling definitely needs to find better, a few better targets than Noxious Gearhulk. I always thought about reviving like a Fling Metalwork Colossus deck. That seems to be like a fun little plan to do 10 damage to the face. That's when I think Fling gets good. Cards like the Electrostatic Pummeler, people are using Fling in that one, where it's something can get big and it should be flung right at the face. 5 damage I don't think is in that threshold that I would say is worthy enough for the Fling. So yeah, just some food for thought there. Alrighty, and no sideboard? Come on, everyone's got to have a sideboard. All right, so let's check out another one. This one's for Jeff. No, I gotta do here, thanks. Zach's being waiter over here. Anyone want something to drink? He just asked everyone if they want something to drink. Alrighty, so here is a Black-White Horses. This is a card that I need to revisit. I'll show you my Horses deck that I was messing around with. This one's going to have Arrow Responder, Bishop Soldier, Crested Sunmare, Gifted Aetherborn, the Sunscore Scavenger, the Vona. Vona is a card that I definitely want to get to work. I think that Black just needs a little more reason to run it at the moment, besides just the control that it adds for the Crested Sunmare. Right now, I'm liking Crested Sunmare mono white lists. I guess instead of just showing, I mean, your list is pretty much stock of just life gain cards. The ways that I found that gets Crested Sunmare the most bang for his buck is going to be a token-based strategy with the Oketcher's Monument. And it's actually a very, very inexpensive deck that does decent against Teamer and decent against the Ramen Up Red. So let me pull that up on my end if I can find what I've been... man, this is what I hate about MTGO. I like save decks. I don't know where they have the deck data. Is stored internally. It's like halfway stored on your computer and halfway stored internally. And when I use different computers for different things, I don't have the lists on each computer. So let's see if I can find the horse. This is old stuff. Yeah, never mind. I can't pull it up. I had a horse deck that was built with Oketcher's Monument. It was testing quite well, and it was using the Eternalize card or the Embalm card that comes back with the... So it was an Oketcher's Monument deck. These are all old ones, though. Yep. I don't have it on this computer. I'll have to find it. But it's just that Oketcher's Monument was really, really good with the... Whenever a token came into play, you gained a life. Because that's where Crested Sunmare shines, is when you can guarantee life gain within a deck. You can't guarantee life gain with a life-linking creature a lot of the times. A lot of times it still has to attack, still has to get through to be able to deal that damage to get the Crested Sunmare. And so it's other cards that are definitely going to gain it, like a Soul Sisters type card. And the best one we have at the moment is going to be the Embalm Anointer Priest. And I think Anointer Priest does very well with Oketcher's Monument. Whenever a creature token enters the battlefield, you gain a life. You can pair it with cards like Legion's Landing, so it would work with there. There was also another card I was looking at. I'll have to figure out which one it was. That created a creature token along with another ability. So I mean, it was a card. So you get the Oketcher's Monument Oh yeah, so basically it creates any white creatures. That's how it is. Creates the Catcher's Monument. The Aether Harvester is a little bit better with Crested Sunmare because Crested Sunmare can come out, crew the Aether Harvester, attack in for 3, get you that life, and then you got the horses going on. And then Regal Caracals were just another, like, so I've been messing around with a list like this. It does insanely well versus Ramen Up Red. It does okay versus Teamer Energy, but the thing about Teamer Energy is they're very easy to morph into different decks post sideboard, and they always seem to have silver bullet answers versus a variety of decks. So that's been my problem with the Sunmare at the moment, is it just doesn't seem to be able to push through what Teamer's doing. So consistency-wise, the Teamer deck's just going to get you. So if your meta is really flooded with Ramen Up Red, this is the time to run like a Crested Sunmare deck. But when the rest of the decks too, the Crested Sunmare is just not going to be impactful enough. So we're talking about Catcher's Monument or Approach the Second Sun, or not a Catcher's Monument. So Approach the Second Sun, even the old school Abzan tokens, the God Pharaoh's Gift decks are all going to probably be favorable versus Crested Sunmare, and the only matchup that you're going to be favorable against is Ramen Up at the moment. But Lifelink, I would definitely stick with making sure that there's ways to get that lifelink the turn that Crested Sunmare comes out. Otherwise, it's just not nearly going to be the card. It's not going to reach its potential, and then it's not just it's not worthwhile to be. Isn't this one of those cards that Desolator Magic freaked out about? Was Crested Sunmare, and now it sees little to no play. All right, so I'm going to try to get through a few more of these really quickly, and maybe we can try out some. We have another one here by Jesse. This one is a Abzan Life Gain, so it's going to be very similar to this too. So I think I've answered a lot of the questions here. So Emperor's Vanguard was always a card that is I think that I'd rather just stick with a card that explores once when it comes out, because when it deals combat damage you explore. For 4 mana, I think this card needed a little bit more upside to be playable. Currently right now for 4 mana for a 4/3, this card is just it still dies to Fatal Push, it still dies to a lot of the removals like Lightning Strikes in the format, and so you're not going to get any sort of value out of it the turn that comes out. Whereas if you just play Merfolk Branchwalker, you've got the value out of it there. So, and it's also kind of clunking your Crested Sunmare spot. That the 4 and the 5 drop really get clunked because they're both very similar. You can't compare a 4 and a 5 drop with something like a 3 and a 2. A 2 and a 3 have a very different spread on the curve because 2 2-drops can be cast on turn 4, or you go 1, 2, 3 is a very good impact rather than a 4 into a 5. Like a 4 into a 4 is almost as much of a good impact as a 4 into a 5. And so you got to lump all your 4 and 5 drops into kind of the same category curve-wise. So the Gifted Aetherborn, the Glory Bound Initiate, Vona again is going to be another one that's going to be really clunking up that slot. And one other problem that I see right here, right off the bat, is you have a double black card into a double white card. And then we have another double white card in Crested Sunmare. We have a black and a white card. Your mana base is going to be very tough to get that scenario to work. More often than not. Argyl's Bloodfast is a card that I'm having a lot of trouble actually making it worthwhile. Legion Landing, of course, is a great card. Blossoming Defense is, in this one, I'm not sure you care too much about a Blossoming Defense. Blossoming Defense really shines in low converted mana cost cards that have high impact. So think Winding Constrictor here. Winding Constrictor is the perfect card for Blossoming Defense. It's a very key piece you want to keep alive. Or Glint Sleeve Siphoner. There's another one. And so you can, turn 3, you can still cast a spell and hold up Blossoming Defense. There's no worse feeling than trying to cast like a Crested Sunmare while still trying to hold up like a Blossoming Defense. So it's just not the right deck to be putting in a Blossoming Defense. The Ritual of Rejuvenation is an okay card when you want it to work with the Crested Sunmare. Unfortunately, though, it requires you that extra turn. And so here's another reason that I'd run Aethersphere Harvester over it. The draw card, I think, is less significant than the 3/5 body, and the 4 life is less significant than the 6 life that you're probably going to get off the Harvester. So in almost every scenario, Harvester is going to be better than Ritual of Rejuvenation. Driven to Despair is only a card I like to play in a deck that floods the board out with a lot of creatures, so I don't think this is the right place for it. Lay Bare is more of a sideboard card. It's actually not that great right now in the meta versus any of the decks. Proactively using your turn 2 versus Teamer is not where you want to be, as Teamer is just going to outvalue you at that point. And the sideboard, you do have the Harvester, the Heroic Intervention. Those are okay. Primary Circle Part right now, it just doesn't fit in the metagame. There is not enough like Essence Scatter type cards to go around at the moment. A lot of the blue control decks are either white or black. They can then deal with the Serpo Part after. It's a card that I have had little to no success with in almost every scenario. I think that if it would be an impactful card, they'd be running it in Energy, and they're not. And so I think you have some better options for the sideboard there. Again, I'm trying to bust these out because now I've got a ton of notifications here in the last few minutes here. I'm glad we're getting more people submitting decks. I mean, that's what we were doing here. But I think I only have 12 minutes left that I'm going to do with the stream for this. I'll try to be more prepared in the future. And again, we always have the rule of thumb. If you want your deck to be showcased no matter what, you know how to use that super chat. I am a whore for money because I got to keep up my Mountain Dew habit and make it worth my time to review the decks. So anyway, I'm going to try to catch up on your comments real quick, and then we'll get back to some more decks if I have a voice left, man. Okay. Where were we with the list here? So, yeah, Tasty didn't come back. Oh, we ran off Tasty. Sad face. Sad face. So Desolator also freaked out about the 1-drop artifact. That's pretty funny with Desolator. I don't hate the guy. I know Desolator really likes my content too. I feel bad for crapping on people that genuinely don't have a problem with you as a person. So, but the Champion of Ronus is another card that I just keep shaking my head. Champion of Ronus with that new dragon, the new dinosaur that's coming out is so unplayable. It's gonna be so tough for that scenario to happen. And it's just more of a liability than anything. Wasn't there a video saying that you should all buy into Champion of Ronuses because they're going to skyrocket in value? I'm like, oh boy, the bad advice, the market bad advice, people. But I mean, the thing that I have experience with jank cards is just I don't know. Maybe Saffron Olive has more experience with jank cards than I do, but I mean, we both have tons of experience. I remember all of my missed, all the decks that didn't work. You start theory crafting. You're like, oh my god, look at this combination. If I could just get this combination to work, I'm gonna win the game. And then you run it out versus like a Ramen Up Red, or you run it out versus like old school Jund decks, like heavy control based decks. Like, well, this card's just not gonna do anything. Same thing like Crested Sunmare. Crested Sunmare is a great example. If you don't get that lifelink that first turn, like you don't gain that life the turn that Crested Sunmare comes out, this card was just a liability. It was just something that came out and did not impact the board for 5 mana. You kind of compare that with a Glorybringer. What's another 5-drop at the moment? A Regisaur Alpha is just something that would outclass a Regisaur Alpha. Outclasses at the moment. Anyone have some other 5-drops that are currently seeing play? Scarab God, for example. These are the cards that it's competing with. And so you really, really have to dedicate a lot of slots to the Crested Sunmare to have it actually, put that 5/5 white horse. And then right there, just compare it with the Regisaur Alpha. You're knowing you're getting a 4/4 and a 3/3 without any work. And one of it also has haste and trample. Whereas the Crested Sunmare, you potentially could have a 10/10. And then you do get that stream of horses later on if you can keep that lifelink up. So I'm not saying Crested Sunmare is a bad card or unplayable. It just takes a lot of work, and sometimes that work is just not worth it to cram that into a deck. Whereas cards like the Champion Ronus into the dinosaur is going to be one of those that you're going to be punished more often. And the problem with it is a lot of people are going to remember the times they won. They're going to remember when Champion of Ronus comes out, gets that 15-15. How big is the stupid thing? 13-13? Man, I should really look at... I haven't even looked at any spoilers lately about the new sets. And then what? I mean, you still have... You attack for a turn. You get some damage and it gets killed. I mean, what at that point, what were you trying to accomplish? Now, if your whole goal is just to jank it out and have fun with it, to your heart's content. I love playing Magic the same way you do with that. I love trying these impossible scenarios. It's almost like a puzzle to me to try to figure out how to win with a certain deck against the meta. And, maybe I'll win 1 out of 5, but that 1 out of 5 is an accomplishment because it was something that, it was an impossible scenario and you made the impossible possible. So I'm definitely okay with people that want to explore the game that route. But to make these claims as it's going to warp the game, or it's a very anyone with any sort of reasonable experience in competitive Magic can see that a card that requires an entire turn to get any sort of value is going to be a very, very tough proposition, even in Standard these days. So hope that makes any sense with that. So my opinion on Argo's Bloodfast is it just doesn't have a good shell right now. It's very, very tough. I wish they would have made it more like Greed for 2 mana or for 1 mana. That's the same problem I have with Bantu. Yeah, by the time you start plugging in that resource to draw cards, it's just not worth it. It is a world of difference between 1 and 2 mana. And just look at all the cards that got Wizards wants to go away from the 0 mana activations. Like most activated abilities do cost a mana at this point, either a tap or a mana. So they've gotten away from just cards like the Phyrexian Altar or Ashnod's Altar, for example. But I'm trying to think of like a greed type ability that used to say like sacrifice a creature, draw a card. They want you to have to pump in some sort of mana. A 1 to 2 is double the mana. That's like going from a 2 to 4. That is a huge leap of resources. So Bantu and Argo's Bloodfast, I think, needed to be at the 1 mana mark to make them playable. And making them the 2 mana is just absolutely devastating. So, whew. Uh-oh. Message retracted. I missed a message. Wait, I can find it on here. Oh, you just, oh man. Okay. So, any other questions that I've missed, just drop them out. Like, I wasn't paying attention. Every time I click on a deck list, my chat goes off the screen, and then I have to reopen it up. All right, so we have about 6 minutes left before I'm going to call the stream a stream. And again, we'll probably try to do this on Tuesdays if everyone enjoys that. I'm trying to give the streaming a shot. I know there's a lot of things I need to tweak to make the streaming more enjoyable. Otherwise, I'll stick to more of the produced video content, the recorded. And I want to get back to producing kind of the better. What was I going through? I was going through some of my old videos last night and saw the standard ban list discussion and saw that it was almost up to 30,000 views. I'm like, wow. I remember I was so disappointed about that because it capped out really quickly at a couple thousand. And I was like, man, I'm never putting this sort of effort into a video again if it's just going to get a couple thousand views. And then it just seems like it's slowly over time, the high quality videos are appreciated by the community. So I want to get back to doing more of that kind of stuff too. But the live stream's just easy for me to be at the store. We have some of this dead downtime, and then I can just hop on. And this is sort of the time period that works best for me to do these sort of live streams. But just let me know. I just need to know what people want, what's most beneficial, and I'll try to cater to the YouTube community at that point. So let me know your favorite, the content you enjoy the most from the Rogue Deck Builder side of things. Whew. All right. So I'll try to get to some of your other deck lists next time. I think that next time when we get going, people will know how the system works, and we can just, because we had the 30 minutes of kind of dead time at the first. But if I didn't get to your deck list, I apologize for that. And yeah, any last closing questions? We have about 5 minutes. You can talk about anything here, and I can answer your questions. And I'll start adding some more of you guys as moderators and whatnot, just so I can see that you can help me answer questions in the future. Bant and Balm on Tapped Out. I think it's the only one. We'll pull up Zoran's last one. I don't think I got to a Zoran. Here, I just saw a Soul Sisters, a vehicle Soul Sisters deck. Painseer, Night Market Lookout, a Johnny Pridemate, Soul Warden, Soul Attendant, Lingering Souls, Thoughtseize, Bitter Blossom, Legion's Landing, Smuggler's Copter, and Aether's for Harvester. The problem I found with this in Modern, these are so much of a liability. I started seeing a lot of people run Smuggler's Copters in various different like Merfolk lists, and I absolutely hate the card. I tried it in Soul Sisters. There are so many random Kolaghan's commands that just blow you out. Kill a Smuggler's Copter in another card or make you discard a card, and it just feels awful. So that's why I haven't played any of these in Modern in quite some time. if you're playing Soul Sisters, you probably should be playing Auric Champion in the main, just because Death Shadow's everywhere. And there's a lot of decks where are Death Shadow and Burn. And you'll be facing, every given tournament, you'll be facing a Death Shadow or Burn deck. And Auric Champion in your main actually isn't that bad of a card. So I highly suggest people run a full playset in the main, unless the metagame goes away from any sort of red-based deck. So you got to think of Jeskai tempo decks are in this category, Lightning Helix, Electrolyze. Auric Champion is miserable for those decks to deal with. So yeah, this is a typical, when people add black in the Soul Sisters, that's what you get to pick up, is stuff like Thoughtseize and Inquisition of Kozilek, and then there's even like Zealous Persecution that's a great card to throw in there. But in all of my vast experience of running Soul Sisters, I do not like splashing a color, because you really need to be focused on your mana base. The mana base needs to be kept low, and if the mana base is be kept low, you need to make sure that's what gives you advantage of a monocolor to do so. You can run a very, very low count, hit all your mana sources you need to hit, and then you definitely don't benefit from drawing any more lands to try to fix, for example. So, and then all that taxing that ends up happening in using fetch lands and shock lands does put a damper on your ability to play. Like, a lot of decks don't care about running the Ranger Vios with the Serra Ascendants, but Serra Ascendants I still think are one of the best cards in Soul Sisters, and one of the whole reasons to running Soul Sisters. So when you start to cut them out for cards like Bitter Blossom and Thoughtseize, because they're non-bows at that point, that's one of your explosive draws, is going to be the ability to get up to 30 life very, very quickly and start attacking you with 6/6 life linkers, and you completely stop yourself from having that angle of winning the games. And sometimes that's your only hope versus the Tron-based decks. Like, Thoughtseize isn't very good versus Tron. You Thoughtseize away a card, they top deck their way out of it. It's something you don't... It's a losing proposition at that point. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents there. Well, with any final remarks, we are approaching 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Again, we'll try to be doing these for about 2 hours every time I stream. And, yeah. What would I like to see to make Merfolk viable in the next... The Minecraft, I don't know if Merfolk... The tempo is almost there, but it's going to be tough to a tempo deck to compete with both Ramenup and Energy. It's both of those decks are just really, really solid at this point. The problem with Rivals of Ixalan is if they push any sort of tribal mechanic to be able to beat the red aggro decks and the energy decks, then we're back to the same problem with when the next set comes out. We might not even have a way to beat the tribal decks. So do we want Standard to have this vicious cycle, or do we just want to nip it in the bud right now and say, okay, Standard is going to be Teamer Energy, it's going to be ramming up for a while, but once these two rotate out, it's wide open. Because that is what it's going to take. It's going to take pushing the tribes to the point where they're just more broken, more just value-based than even Energy or Ramenup. And I don't want that. So I'm hoping they don't do anything for Merfolk, and we can just wait till rotation occurs, and then Merfolk can be viable, because there's enough pieces there. I think Merfolk's probably the tribe that's the furthest away. You get Silver will add up for sure next time. So... do I think unstable lands will climb or crash in value? I think they're going to eventually flatline out and go down. However, I've never seen bonuses occur on Cardsphere until this weekend, when people are offering bonuses like crazy for the unstable lands. So that's a good sign for the overall value. Unstable, I think, is a net negative for the Magic economy in general, because I think what we're seeing is this huge influx of people spending their money towards unstable, and that's almost like a side game to Magic. It isn't really part of the Magic economy, if that makes sense to anyone. It's almost like another game competing for Magic's money. And I think for a healthy economy, we need players and focus to be focused on like the eternal formats, the moderns, and even the standards at this point. So I'm not a fan of Unstable. Well, I'm a fan of how it played. It was a really fun little draft format. We're trying to construct a format for it, but in the long run, it's just going to be kind of a blip. People are going to forget about it and go back to, playing Magic, and it's just a lot of money that's sunk out of the Magic economy when I think it really needed it. And we're starting to see a free fall in the economy. I showed this earlier on my stream. The staples of staples, like the fetch lands, the doubling seasons, the cards that the Siddices, cards that have been traditionally always going up a few cents per day, have finally flatlined out and started to decline. That is a terrible, terrible, terrible sign for the Magic economy. So I'm warning everyone right now that it might be time to short sell. If I'm not saying quit Magic, absolutely not saying quit Magic. I'm saying that with all the community drama, with all the economic indicators showing that we are in stagnation, if not into a complete recession, that it's just smart, if you want to keep value in your collection, if you want to keep value in or your purchasing power in the future, that it might be smart to sell out of everything non-essential in Magic. So anything you're currently not playing, you should sell out and buy back again in 6, 7, 8 months. When it'll be a good sign again when you see those Commander staples start to edge up in value, start to have those 1 to 2 cent price increases per day, not these 3, 4, 5 cent decreases per day. So I hope Wizard gets their act together. Everyone's cheering on stable, but I just don't think for the overall health of the game that it's going to actually be what they want. I think Unstable needed to be released when the economy could absorb it, where without really impacting the rest of it. And just too much money just got diverted towards, full art lands, for example. Yeah, people like them. When is these things also going to lose their luster? Or if everyone starts playing the unstable lands, people are like, ugh, I want something else more unique. They can, there's just too many options for those kind of flashy lands now these days. So, man, now see, you guys are getting me started on a Market Monday. Going a little bit over. I said I was closing this at 7. Now I'm, going a little bit on further. I'll try to answer some few questions if there's any more remaining. But otherwise, yeah, we'll talk more about the market. Popper is very, very interesting. I told my patrons that they should be keeping an eye on Popper because Channel Fireball did just release that Popper will be a side event at all their Grand Prix, or at least the one coming up. Hey, appreciate the donation. Miss Louth? Is that how you say the name? Miss Louth? Luath? I can't pronounce anything. I'm from Central Utah. I'm worse than Saffron Olive. But, yeah. We can go on a little bit of a market spiel. To be honest, the whole reason I was going to close the stream is my brain's fried looking at deck lists. Oh, it is just tasking to do so. Also, if you shot me an email in the past couple weeks, I'm trying to little by little answer all of your emails on Facebook, Twitter, my personal email. Of course, we got an influx of messages from a lot of people, and it's something with my personality. I can't, I don't sit still very well. So answering emails behind a computer and keeping I'm the most distracted person, especially when the internet is one click away. And it's if I haven't answered your email, I'm trying to get to them little by little. But yeah. I'll try to have a nice little presentation for Market Monday next week. We'll look at the cold hard stats, but coming from a store owner where I'm literally being reached out by distributors. Distributors never really cared about a store my size in the past, and whereas now they're giving me just insane deals on sealed product. Like we used to get boxes when we first started out, it was $86 a box. So when we'd always, that would incentivize us ordering from Wizards, because Wizards was $75 a box. So that's a $9 difference, or $11 difference actually. Wow, that's a huge difference for your margins when you can get it directly from Wizards for $75 versus when you can get directly from or when you get it from distributors for $86. So now I get boxes, I think, from my distributors for $78 and from Wizards for $75. So a $3 margin is nothing, and I'd rather pay the $3 difference through a distributor to actually have good customer service than the garbage, the dumpster fire that is the customer service with Wizards. If you ever do own your own local game store, you will understand Wizards is the most miserable customer service to work with. We are late on boxes that we ordered forever ago, and we still don't even have tracking numbers for them. So I don't know if they've even processed the damn things. And so it gets really, really tough running a Patreon when people actually buy sealed product from me. And we had a person order 2 cases of Unstable on Wednesday of last week. I still don't even know where the hell they are. Wizards hasn't even given us a tracking number for them. So, of course, this person wants their Unstable cases. They want to play it, and I don't even have them yet to ship them off and have to ship them off. So, how to get in this ramble? But, yeah, distributors are definitely reaching out to me and then saying, hey, they have a lot of product. So here's a little bit of shameful self-promotion. If you're interested in this is something that I give the patrons. Go check out the $10 tier and the $15 tier on patreon.com/roguedeckbuilder. We allow up to 5 purchases at distributor price per month for the $10 tier. That just gives us kind of some incentive. That's kind of the cost of labor to ship off 5 packages, $10, $2 a package. You get the gist there. And for $15, I think we give an additional 5. So you get 10 products at distributor pricing for $15 a month. So there are a lot of pretty crazy deals at the moment from distributors. We're talking about I think we found Journey to Nyx was $68 a box. I think there was a Gate Crash box for $66. These are under the price that Wizards sent them off. And so distributors distributors used to not worry about their overstock because eventually they could just sell them all off. But to me, it's just seeming that distributors want a better outlet. They want a better influx of cash or they want cash on hand right now to invest in other more lucrative ventures than Magic the Gathering. And that is another bad sign. So we're seeing all the economic indicators. We're seeing that the only really successful set was a joke set in the past couple of years. Or at least where the community buzz was around that. Iconic Masters was an absolute disaster. Rivals of Ixalan or Explorers of Ixalan, I've heard, didn't sell very well. I can't confirm nor deny that at the moment because I'd need to see the numbers for that. It's still quite recent, so I think they're banking on being a good Christmas season for that. If you go watch Rudy's latest video, the gift packs, he's perfect. He's right on par. I was offered as well to buy them at $9 a piece, and from Wizards they're $11.36, I think $11.36. So MSRP is $20, and Wizards sells them for $11.36 or something like that to me. So that's less than a 50% markup, which is bad for stores to do that. So distributors are actually selling them for less than I can get them direct from Wizards. All that stuff is going a bad economic indicator for Magic as a whole. So I have a very, very huge love for this game. If you follow me on Twitter, you can see that I got in a huge Twitter spat with Wizards yesterday. Just over, I don't know what triggered me. It was just some sort of nonsense I saw, some sort of community issue, and it just feels like a lot of us are going unheard with the problems with Magic right now, or they just don't care about game stores. They don't care about. They have this vision of what they want the Magic community to be, and it's not where a lot of us want it to be, on the local game store level versus this more digital era. So I had this kind of little Twitter tantrum where I talked about some of the issues I was having, and it's not that big of a doom and gloom. I will always have a huge love for this game, just with the ability that I've been able to cultivate a community and interact with so many of you. But it's really tasking, though, to just see a free fall in Wizards, and all the indicators are there, economically, community wise, and it's scary. It's scary. So that's my biggest advice to everyone. If you have any non-essential, so things you aren't actively playing at the moment, I would dump them right now and try to save as much money as possible. If you have a modern deck, be more than welcome to keep that until the next Pro Tour Rivals over Ixalan and sell day 2 of Rivals over Ixalan. Also, if you have a Grand Prix that is upcoming in your area, a lot of times Grand Prix are the best way to get out of cards because you're in an active economic zone where vendors are competing with each other. So the margins are going to be very, very slim, and their buy rates are usually incredibly high. And so I love, even as a store owner, we'll take a lot of our overstock and sell them at Grand Prix. So that's a big tip for you there. Other than that, Card Kingdom has some pretty good buy lists. I don't like to promote Card Kingdom a lot because they actively seem to be sponsoring some of the more turbulent members of the community that are actively trying to create that divide. but I haven't heard anything from their policy-wise that makes me think they're that guilty of the community war that's going on. So Card Kingdom, though, does have a pretty good slim buy list as another outlet for it. And I highly recommend Card Sphere as another way to get out of your excess and put it into a credit system that then you can get back in 6 to 8 months, or maybe I would say between 6 and a year and a half is where it will take Magic to recover. So that's that. Man, who got me started on this little spiel that I went off on 10 minutes? But I can send products internationally. I absolutely can. But what I have to do is I have to slice them open. So I can't send sealed product. So keyword sealed. So if you do want like a commander deck, or you do want a certain box, I physically have to take scissors and cut every one of the packs open. And you can tell that you can tell they haven't been searched through, by the way. They just can't be sealed. And why they do that is because they have different deals with different countries and different distributions, that they're the exclusive distribution zones. In fact, some countries have laws against distributions. United States of America has some weird laws with like car dealerships, that only a certain amount of car dealerships can be actually in a certain area. There's some weird stuff with countries. So Wizards has to abide by that kind of stuff. And so they have to, it's the same thing with, that's why I can't say international. It can't be something that people can resell. So you have to physically destroy the ceiling of those products. But I absolutely can send you unsealed whatever you want. So that's an option. But anyway. All right, any last closing remarks, closing questions before I shut the stream down and maybe actually get some work done? I'm curious if MTG changes direction with the recent changes in developing more board games with MTG cards. That's a cool idea. But is that where they, again, that even to me shows that they're not as focused on local game stores, because local game stores used to be the place to play Magic. If they're going to try to incorporate it with with Explorers of Ixalan, MTG Arena, big events, things like that, it's taking away more of the local level. It almost seems like they're just trying to crowd out the local space, but yeah. Appreciate everyone coming for the stream. Yeah, my voice is almost gone, so I'm gonna go take a breather, and we will. If you guys enjoy this, again, I'll check the numbers. If this is lucrative enough to keep doing the live streams, I'll keep doing the live streams. And if anyone has any tips for the live streams, please email me. Eventually, I want someone to help me manage this sort of crap. I do have an awesome graphic designer, Greg. He does some great work, but he is very swamped with his real life job. And I know I keep putting this out there, but anyone wants to kind of be involved in this sort of stuff, I have no qualms with adding more people. Rogue Deckbuilder isn't a brand that actually makes profit at the moment to pay people, so it's all pro bono kind of stuff. You know, it's if you want to be involved in the community, I'd love to, have people work with me. But does Anointed Procession work with Embalm? Yes, it does. If you've watched that's how the tokens deck actually does work, is they try to embalm back a bunch of like Angel of Sanctions, and it will create multiples, or bring back the Anointer Priest as multiples, and it gains a ton of life. So yeah, it does work with Embalm and the Eternalize. But whew, okay, well, next week, everyone send your deck list in early if you want me to recap a deck list. We'll actually start playing some games at that point. I'll try to choose some of them that I want to play and want to tune. It's a lot easier for me to pick up decks and pre-plan them and have a better stream like that. But yeah, I'll look into some music. I know Twitch does offer some music. If Twitch ends up being a better place to stream, I'll go over to Twitch. It just hasn't made it much sense to me as a YouTuber to really kind of spread myself to both Twitch and YouTube. I don't have the bandwidth to run it on both, and so therefore I don't. I think it requires people recommend, what is it, like 30 up is what people want to be able to stream on both. Otherwise you could have, and I get about 15 on a good day. Like actually I would say my up is probably 8 on a good day. Apparently I can get up to like 15, 20, but that's really, really pushing it. Otherwise, it would stream on both the platforms. But at the moment, I'm just going to stick to YouTube unless I really see advantage for Twitch. I do like a lot of the Twitch's platform. But as a YouTuber, it just makes more sense for me to just keep doing everything on YouTube. But we'll look into it. So anyway, thanks everyone for showing up, and we'll do some other streams following this week. I'll probably try to play some of my other... I don't know if janking off with the Rogue Deck Builder will be a live stream or if it will be a tape stream. And we'll probably try to do Rogue's Alley, though, live tomorrow. So I'm going to pick up a deck, and we'll play some live games and interact with everyone tomorrow around the same time, maybe a little bit later, probably a little bit later for the Rogue's Alley. But until then, I'll see you guys later.